Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 76 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. However, before we get started into the recap, they do have a new animated intro, which I happen to really like. It has way more character in it than the one they've been using up to this point has, and honestly, it just feels better. It feels better to have like an actual true animated thing as opposed to the rotoscope thing they've been using so far. I like it way more. It fits the campaign better. We get to see moments from the campaign in it. We get to see the characters before we come into the actual game. I think it's a lot better than what they've been using. Do I like it as much as the first one they used for this campaign? I'm not too sure. I'm going to have to watch them back to back to sort of figure out which one I like more. This one has a hell of a lot more character than the one they've been using up to this point, however. So I like this one more than that one, but whether I like it more than the first one they used, I'm still out on that one. So, with that being said, let's get into the recap. We start with hopefully teleporting to Whitestone. FCG rolls a D100 and gets a 5. The party is pulled in and they all feel a spiking sensation in them, and they all take 24 force damage from this, as it was a failed teleport. By the way, none of them are healed from the battle they had before with lewdness. FCG rolls again, this time it's 66. They teleport and they all feel the touch of the ground beneath them, and they look up and see the sun tree. Finally, they're in Whitestone. Some people are scared by their sudden arrival and guards start coming toward them. The party explain to the guards what happened, and the guards say that they were told to expect them and take them to the castle unless they had business that they needed to do beforehand. Orem asks if FCG is okay. They look a little bit haggard. They say the staff is kind of messed up. Imogen agrees and thinks that they should get it checked out. It hurts them every time they use it. The guards escort them to the castle. Ashton looks up and sees the ley lines even here in Whitestone. As they walk, Laudna gets flashes of her life before, both positive and negative moments. She feels a pit in her stomach. The doors to the castle open, and the guards take the party straight to Percy's workshop. There is a hidden door that is still partly open. They instantly smell all sorts of metals, chemicals, and gunpowder. They step in and see a large open room with work stalls along both sides, a middle island with nothing on it. There's no windows down here, and the lights give off a natural light look to them. On the back wall is a massive desk and a few people standing around it. The harness is also on it. Joe, Dancer, Verna, and Percy are all now looking at the party as they enter. They're all standing at the back desk. Percy says they arrived just on time. Joe leaps up and welcomes them all back and is happy they're all safe. The party asks how everything is going with them. Joe says they hit a few speed bumps, but they've seemed to have gotten to a good place with the harness. Percy asks how their journey went. The party say good. FCG asks if Percy has a way to block being magically spied upon. The party explain that lewdness watched them, and a much weaker version of him showed up and they fought the party, or it fought the party. Percy does have something, but it's specifically for him, and also the castle has its own defenses. And he also explains that no one should be able to look in on them as they do this. He says that they've hit a bit of a snag, and at this point a voice is heard behind the party. A woman in her 60s enters their workshop. It's Allura. If you don't know who Allura is, she's a big character from Campaign 1 who was like a wizard who helped the party out a handful of times, and she showed up in Campaign 2 briefly to aid the Mighty Nine a few times, I think twice. So she's been around. She's been a character who's been around for a long time. She asks for more details about their fight with the fake lewdness. They explain everything that happens, including the gem in his forehead. She believes that it was a simulacrum, a magical copy of oneself, normally a bit weaker. She says most of the time those can't, you can only have one, but he might have many. The simulacrums also can't learn any new knowledge and sort of transfer it back when they die. But that's what the gem on the forehead probably was, so he could overcome this weakness. Allura is jealous that they have a memory of seeing his copy die. She's met him before due to work things. We actually have seen her meet him specifically. It's in Campaign 2, so you haven't seen that yet. Go do that. She then asks to see the harness. Percy steps back and tells her to go ahead. The party see it's been very much fixed up. Runes are all fixed up on it. There's more colors to it. It is, however, inert. Allura takes out a chisel and starts chiseling runes into the metal part of the funnel. And blue flashes come off the chisel with every strike. She's about to finish up and stops and asks the party if they know what it is. It's a device called a power still, and it is extremely difficult to craft. It's used to take natural magic energy and transport it, or siphon into other things. Normally, people using it don't have the greatest intentions. Allura says she couldn't make something like this due to the fact that it, is very ancient technology and hard to make. The only reason they can make this one is because it's already mostly done. She tells the party that using this is very amoral and understands why they need to use it, but asks the party to give it to the Cobalt Soul once they're done with it. Chetney isn't totally down with this idea, and neither is Fern, but eventually they agree to it. At this point, the party think it's best to get the crystal out, so Ashton does take the crystal out of the bag of holding and places it on the table. Everyone looks it over a bit, and Allura is in awe of it, and she asks where they got it. The party explain exactly where they got it from, the whole lava ordeal. She wants to pick their brains. She's only been to the Shattered Teeth a few times, and she wants to know way more about their travels there. Allura asks what they're going to do with the crystal. They say that one of them is going to absorb it. The Tree of Atrophy told them that this is something that needs to happen. She's familiar with it, but she's never seen the tree herself. They tell Allura Ashton has a shard of a Titan inside of them, and they think the other shard will awaken that one. Percy finds it funny that the enemy of the gods is going to be used to save them. The party say that the goal is mostly to stop lewdness, and the gods are kind of secondary. Percy finally agrees with the party on something, and Allura smiles. Orm says they can't really choose to be picky about where they get their power from right now. Allura agrees and asks if she's met Orm before, only in passing. She thinks Orm is way more confident than the last time she saw him. Orm asks if Keyleth is going to be here soon. She is, and with some of the others that she's gathered. At this point, Allura finishes up the runes that she's been chiseling in, and all sorts of colors shimmer and shift off the harness. The harness is shaking the table. The Tinkerers think it's working now, as they should, because it seems to be powered. Percy says it needs to be tested before it's a success, so now to test it. The party is worried about this now. They didn't really think it was going to get to this point yet. Allura says it will permanently take magic from items and living creatures and put its raw magical essence into the user for random benefits, or different benefits depending. The party question why he doesn't use it anymore, he being Ludinus. They think that he made a new one. Allura thinks that he probably left it behind while fleeing Malaismere. Chetney wants to test it out. He's not super injured compared to everyone else and wants to see if it'll hurt them when trying to use it. He puts the harness on with the help of Allura. The second Chetney puts it on, he feels the electrical currents moving through him. It doesn't hurt, however. It's just more of a numbing sensation, or a tingling sensation. As this lock on the Chetney's body, it shifts to shape him, sort of matches his body shape. The party questions what to use to test it. Allura warns them that the magic absorbed won't necessarily give them the enchantment of the item, just straight up raw magical power. Laudna asks if the castle has any extra items. Percy taps the floor a few times and a guard walks in. Percy tells them to get the enchanted dishes they got last year. After some time passes, the guards come back with the silverware. Percy holds the silverware near the funnel. The harness glows a little bit as he does. He holds it over the funnel, and there's the flash on the silverware. They're now floating above the funnel. They turn to black ash, and a magical energy enters Chetney's back. Chetney gets 5 temporary hit points and knows what the harness does now. Wondrous item. The elaborate harness marked with runic inscriptions affixed to the torso of a humanoid creature. When activated, any non-artifact magical item placed within the harness's funnel for 1 minute will have its enchantment permanently removed. Depending on the rarity of the item in question, the wearer of the harness gains one of the following benefits. Common, 5 temporary hit points. Uncommon, 10 temporary hit points. Very rare. The wearer's hit point maximum permanently increased by 5. All attack rolls, saving rolls, and ability checks have advantage until you complete a long rest. Legendary. One of the wearer's ability scores is permanently increased by 2 depending on the item, as does your maximum of that score. Some powerful items might bestow additional benefits. If a creature of powerful magic essence is physically touching the funnel for 1 minute, their magical essence is temporarily drawn from them, removing any magical ability they have for 24 hours, while bestowing a unique benefit upon the wearer until the wearer completes a long rest. This benefit varies depending on the creature. If a magical creature touches the harness for 1 hour or more, they are destroyed, and the wearer gains permanent benefit based on the creature. Once a creature gains benefits from the array, it cannot benefit from it again until they complete a long rest. The party don't know what to think, don't know if it'll work on Ludinus anymore to drain his power. Ashton asks if the Tinkerers think that the funnel will help awaken Ashton's shard within them. Dancer thinks it could. Laura says that it's very likely Ashton would die if they tried to sort of add the shard to them. FCG thinks that Fern should do it, but there is no real answer. Lana asks if the shards will be destroyed if, say, Ashton were to try to absorb it and dies. Allura isn't sure. Ashton asks if they could pull the shard out of them. Again, Allura isn't sure. Orm says the Titans were partners, so what if Fern absorbed it and the two of them sort of met in some way? There's obviously some sort of sexual innuendo at this point, but I'm not going to say anything about it. Lana asks if the shards of the Titan is within the other crystal in Ashton's head. Laura is very curious about Ashton's head. She's been looking at it for a while. Ashton tells her to go for it. She leans in and closes her eyes. Ashton begins to rock back and forth, and magical energy comes off of Ashton. The same magical energy comes off of Allura a bit. Suddenly she comes to and opens her eyes. She says he's got like a shard of impossibleness inside of him, and asks if he's heard of Dunamancy before. He hasn't. She explains that it's old magic based around possibility, and that he has a focus of it in their head. She tells them that the Kryn dynasty and the people within worship shards like these, or worship beacons. They even go out and seek these beacons for worship and try to find them and bring them back to the Kryn dynasty. Orm asks if Ashton has a beacon in their head. Allura says no, it's more like a piece of one. Orm asks about the Luxon. They sort of talked about it before in the explanation. A being that is that the sort of Kryn dynasty religion is based on. Allura says there's no real historical evidence of it, but it seems to be their creation myth. Allura has seen a beacon before, Campaign 2 reference. And the party have also seen one. It was actually inside the Malleus Key. Ashton pulls out their old jacket and points to the symbol on their back, and it has a part of the beacon drawn on it. The party and Allura think it's best not to put anything else inside Ashton. There's already too much going on. Chet thinks to himself and then says it out loud that the Luxon and Predathos could be the same being, and some people in the room nod to this idea. Allura says that there's many questions to stuff like this, and there's so much beyond their own space that this is exactly what drives her to understand the universe, so they're not really too sure if the Luxon and Predathos are the same. She says that people like Ludinus misuse this sort of curiosity all the time, and that she's envious of the party for stumbling through these answers. Laudna asks if there's more places to suck power from. Allura says yes. FCG asks about the upcoming meeting in a few hours. Allura says that the people that she and Keyleth could contact with are coming here in a few hours to have a sort of conversation. The party talk about if they should use the harness now on Fern or wait for later, but they feel like they should rest up first and heal up a bit before doing anything. Percy tells his people to take care of the party before the meeting. FCG asks about what will happen to Joe, Dancer, and Verna. Joe is wondering the same thing, as Bastards is probably not safe right now for them as they're all wanted. Percy says that they can stay here. It's been a while since danger over the world has brought people together like this, which is him saying it sarcastically. And his kids might have more fun with more people around, not sarcastic. Percy asks Allura to talk alone, and that's now that the job is finished. Laudna turns Pate invisible and tells him to stay inside and listen. Joe and Verna go to their rooms. Dancer asks if FCG could have a moment alone. FCG asks if she wants anyone else around. She doesn't. She feels safe with all these guns around. She goes down on one knee. She's less shut off than usual. She tells FCG there's a difference between the reason they're made and their true nature. And she says whatever happened back then wasn't FCG, it was something else. She tells them the people around them have kept them true. Maybe Dancer and FCG weren't a good team for each other. She didn't want FCG to go into danger with this stuff weighing over them. FCG thanks her for that. FCG thanks her for the gift of living, and they hope to pay that gift forward to their new friends. FCG agrees that they may not have been a great team for each other. They've been looking for meaning for so long, and they forgot that getting meaning from a god or fixing things with her doesn't truly matter as much as where they end up in life. If that's with them, that's fine, and thanks her for the path that she has set them on. Dancer makes eye contact and says that they've always been special and not to fuck it up. FCG then asks about D. Dancer says at first he was just a rumor, but now they know a bit more about him. He gets around real quick and sells unique special items. She doesn't really trust him, but that's why she liked buying from him. FCG says that they can't pay her right now. She expected this. FCG asks if they can hug. They do. It's awkward. But after that, they separate and go their own way. Back in the workshop, Pate overhears Percy say that it's extremely upsetting. His hard exterior drops for a second. He says he's not against making Whitestone a sanctuary again, but asks if the conflict can be taken elsewhere. His family is here now and he doesn't want them to be in danger. She tells him that there's a red moon in the sky and aliens are invading, and tells him that Lady DeRollo is doing what she can with the council to sort of keep things at bay. They have good allies now, and then she looks right at Pate and says some of them are watching them. She picks Pate up and magically throws him out of the room. Laudna catches him. Imogen is looking around to see if Ludinus is watching. They're in the dining hall. Food is being served to them. Orm asks what they're going to do next. FCG says to rest up and then go to the meeting, and then Fern will absorb the shard. Imogen says the shard is a tomorrow thing. They're not going to worry about it yet. FCG wonders where they go after the meeting. They were told to gather allies, but this is realistically it. FCG asks how Orm has met all these people. He says it's just in passing from being so close to Keyleth. Imogen and Laudna suggest going around, absorbing powerful magic, but they don't know how much time they have. They rest up and hear movement of the guards moving around the castle. They watch 3 figures go by. One has antlers and one is very small. Those are the only 2 they really see, like in much detail. The guards tell them that it's time for them to go up to the meeting. They walk up the stairs and go to a room across from Percy's office. They see a large round desk and banisters with the history of Vox Machina and other random moments in history. Alora is in the room, Percy as well, Keyleth and an older woman who looks just like Keyleth, that's Villia. They see Ebb and Old Kai from the Grim Verity, and as the party walks in, the doors close behind them. As the party walk in, the conversation is already being held. Ebb and Old Kai says thanks to Alora, the Grim Verity have been able to gather their allies in Marquette. Villia says that she's been able to reach out to some of her allies in Wildmount, and they've started to understand the complicated web of allies that Ludinus has. Keyleth says that with everything going on, they always feel like they're 3 steps behind. Allura says that it's her belief, and many of her compatriots around her, that it's likely the Malleus Key that is causing the magical issues in the world. She also says that the Ruidians can diminish divine magic. She also says that the Malleus Keys are putting a strain on the magical weave, and that if it's not taken out within a fast enough period, it could cause a tear in the weave. They should destroy the tower. Percy says that the tower, or the Malleus Key, is the only way up to the moon, and they shouldn't destroy it. Keyleth says that they don't even know what's on the other side of the bridge, so they shouldn't really risk it. Imogen chimes in and says that they can go up. She's seen the moon's surface before. She tells everyone what's up there. Cities, wildlife, dust storms. The people up there are bitter and they feel betrayed. They've been trapped up there. There's an entire society that's been trapped up there. Allura asks if they know what they're organizing or what the goal is of the people up there, and do they know where the bridge leads. Imogen doesn't know anything for certain, but she thinks that the people want to be here, not there. Chet says they'll just have to go look again. He's also explaining that they're expendable compared to everyone else here. They don't have a high standing in the world, so they're able to be used in this manner. Imogen says whenever she got close to the bridge, she felt like joining. Percy questions her going is even a good idea. But the Bells back her up and say that it's a good idea. Ashton says that they may have a contact that they can use. FCG backs up Chetney's expendable words. Percy says if Keyleth trusts them, then he does. Keyleth asks if they feel confident in going up there unnoticed. Lana says they aren't a group of bumbling fucks that no one cares about anymore. Lewdness showed up on them when they were trying to travel around a bit, so they are now on the radar of the villains. FCG says they need to get items ready to protect them from the conditions on the moon. Allura says that she can jump around and get them stuff that they can use to help. She also says that she can shield them from prying eyes for only 8 hours. Imogen asks if she can protect the party from mental attacks, as many of the Ruidus born likely have this ability to attack the mind. Allura can try. FCG says they'll need a distraction to even get to the Malleus key. Percy says that he has something planned for that. Lana says that she doesn't want Keyleth to waste her people again like they did last time. Keyleth says they aren't going to just storm it again. This is going to be a distraction. The party says they have their own ways to sneak in. They've done it before. Keyleth says that they're getting their forces ready, but not like ready to attack, ready to distract. This is more about getting information on the moon than it is for their full forces to move in to try to take the moon. Percy says that this is terrifying and exciting. Thank goodness for a younger generation willing to take up the task and fighting and not being him. Allura asks if they are sure about what they're doing. Lana says they've all talked about it already and they know they might not make it out of this alive, but that gives them purpose, so it's fine. Orm says that they're expecting the world's forces, not the Bell's hells. Fern says this isn't a world that she wants to raise her kid in, making everyone freak out again, but she then pats Mister on the head. She wants to make it a good world for him to live. Allura says if she can contact Rin, but the party cut her off and inform her of what happened to Rin. She is currently stone at the dig site. The party tell Allura that they also met Caleb and Bo. Allura is familiar with them. She hasn't spoken to them yet, but she has spoken to some of their allies. She says if they could recover Rin, that would be very helpful as well. Cheney asks if they could just teleport to the moon. Allura says that many have tried, and that there's been something blocking their way up there. That's probably why Ludinus had to go through all of this to get a bridge to it. Ashton asks if they've heard from the Betrayer Gods. No one here has contact with them. Keyleth says to gather those who are prepared to make a distraction and get them ready for the party to go. Keyleth tells the party to prepare and tells Allura to do the same. Percy says the party can stay here to prepare and their allies can also stay. Imogen and Orem asks if Percy has 7 legendary items they can use. He says he doesn't even know where to look to begin to look for that kind of stuff. Insight check from Chetney, but he can't tell. Let me tell you, there's a few magical items roaming around that castle. FCG asks for a chalice worth 1,000 gold pieces. Percy says that is familiar sounding and says he'll see what he can do. Keyleth is smiling. She had hoped that hard times were done in her lifetime, but then she remembered how long her lifetime is going to be. She's happy that people like the Hells have risen to the occasion. Everyone in the room says goodbye in their own sort of unique way of each of them saying their names to each other. The doors open and everyone heads out. Orm catches up with Keyleth and thanks her for letting him go down his own path. She has faith in him and thinks one day that their paths will cross again. He hopes they'll have that kind of luck. Keyleth says to keep an eye on Imogen with her family ties. Orm says that he trusts her. Keyleth says that she doesn't distrust Imogen, she just doesn't trust the enemy. Orm says if she has faith in him, that she should also have faith in Imogen. The two then part ways. Chetney asks Ashton about recruiting Betrayer God followers. Ashton says they kinda did already with the guy they met fighting the demons. Imogen wonders what making a pact with a Betrayer God means right now. Ashton says pacts are probably less rare right now. You don't negotiate while drowning. They wonder if the devil they met can help them talk to Betrayer Gods. Fern isn't sure how it'll work if they call him. They are pretty sure that it's only a one-time thing. They wonder what they know about devils. FCG rolls a 13 check. They exist in the Hells. There's many layers of the Hells. They have a sense of duty and law, but it's more selfish. Murder, torture, all sorts of ill doings are not above them. FCG thinks they have a way to contact the devil man they met. Lana says there is a temple of the Raven Queen here she wouldn't mind seeing. Party asks how she's doing being back in Whitestone. She's less afraid right now. The party asks if she wants to go around and see a few things maybe. Maybe even see Andy. Whitestone Andy, her old bully. The party see they are alone in the war room. They wonder where Percy went. Ashton thinks he went to his office, but some of the members saw him go down the stairs with Alora, so not in his office. Lana was just wondering if he'd give her a tour. The party think that would be one of his underlings' doings. Imogen still has a mental connection to Percy, so she can talk to him. Lana wants to look around and possibly see some dark places and sort of see if memories will come up so she can confront them. Orm gets the feeling that they're being watched. He sees a shadow shift down the hall. He follows it and calls out to it. He hears a chair move. He calls out again. And at this point, a horned child walks out holding a doll. Orm asks what she's doing. She says that she's just playing with her doll named Gemma. There's a skeleton within the doll, which is really, 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 really gross to me. She says she likes skeletons. Orm says that she should meet his friends. She wants to. She then says that she's taller than him, so he has to listen to what she says. He asks if she wants him to introduce her friends or introduce her to her friends or his friends. She says no, I command you to do so. Orm then introduces her. She says that she is Gwendaline, and anyone shorter than her must do what she says. That's the law. She's the queen. The tall people all like this idea. Orm says Gwendaline likes skeletons. She says that she's been watching Lana for a while. Lana shows her pate, and then puts pate on her shoulder. Lana asks if she likes scary things. Gwendaline does. Lana parts her chest a little bit and lets Gwen touch it. As Gwen touches it, she suddenly changes her demeanor and then very quickly leaves, saying that she has to go. Insight check from Fern. 30 fucking 9 and gets a whisper. In Gwen's head, Imogen asks if she's alright. This scares her even more and she continues to flee from the party. FCG says to take it a little slower next time. Fern thinks that she picked up on something. FCG wonders if she's gifted and sensed anything from Lana's past. At this point, Imogen questions how she looks the way she does. Imogen rolls a religion check, 5, and they don't really know anything about tieflings. Lana wants to talk to her. The witches choose to follow Gwen. They follow her up through the castle, up to a small chamber that she goes into. They start to say that they miss their queen, to sort of entice her to come out. Group persuasion check. They roll really poorly. The door fully closes at this point. Imogen says that she's sorry. Lana says that she was just looking for answers and thinks that Gwendaline is very smart and could possibly answer some. She tells Gwen to find her when she feels like talking. She then walks away. From behind the door, they hear "I'm afraid of you," and I don't know why. Lana hadn't walked away yet. I'm stupid. Lana then says she understands that she's afraid of herself too sometimes. At this point, Lana walks away. Imogen then says sometimes that things that look scary can be so beautiful if you give them a chance. Gwen asks why does Lana hate her so much. Imogen says that Lana doesn't hate her. Gwen says that she could feel the hatred come from her like she's never felt before. Imogen says maybe her doll was just trying to scare her. Gwen says the queen is going to go take a nap. Fern then slips the eyes of Charming under the door. I don't even know what the fuck those are. I don't know where she gets these things, but she gets random shit. I swear to God. Imogen then catches up to Lana and tells her that it was Delilah that she felt. Who else hates the Derolos so much? They can't let Percy know that Delilah's still poking around. Lana wonders what to do with this. Imogen asks what she wants to do with it, as this was kind of what she wanted. She wanted to confront dark pasts. Lana says that she wants to go out at night on a little adventure. Fern and Imogen are both going with her. Meanwhile, Ashton is wandering around with the others. He asks if there's a clock tower around. Chetney says there is, but who cares? It just tells time. For some reason, Chetney really hates the ironworking of this beautiful castle. The beautiful clock tower. Chetney wants to go check out the Raven Queen's temple. The boys all choose to go to the Raven Queen's temple, except for FCG. They want to go to the Changebringer temple. Chetney, Ashton, and Aura make their way to the Grey Fields It is a nice forest walk, and they eventually find their way to a graveyard with small grave plaques and large gravestones. There's two structures here, one dedicated to the Dawn Father, but it's currently locked, and the other is to the Matron of Ravens. Fun fact about this graveyard, it's likely where Bertrand Bell is, because they sent Bertrand's body here, so he's likely buried here. If they had just looked around for a minute, they probably would have found him, which is cool, in my opinion. Would have been very funny. They see a statue dedicated to the Matron of Ravens, but it's a very artistic version of her. In front of her is another cloaked figure. This figure is one they've seen before at the dig site. Chetney sees it and asks if he was from here. Orm says he's not from here, but, you know. They approach the statue looking for more information. They see the larger one has nothing on it, no plaque or anything, but the other one does. The plaque says, "The champion of the Raven, in memory of his friendship, sacrifice, and the day he carries us all away." Orm says he kind of got a raw deal. They wonder what to do to get a vision like they did last time. They need to pray at the altar. They approach the altar and see some offerings, some baked goods, some copper, humble offerings. Orm grows some flowers and adds it to them. There's no water at this altar like the last one, so they don't know if it'll work. There is a back area to this building, however. It's like a small shed. The door is closed. As they look at the temple, they see it's very similar to the one in Jushar, just way smaller. They push open the door and see that there's a staircase going down. Orm goes down. Chet and Ashton follow. Ashton closes the door behind them, so it gets very dark. They go down the stairs and eventually they see a red light fill the area. They reach the bottom, not being terribly loud but still making noise. They hear a "huh" come from the room, and then they're shuffling. Orm says they're just looking for worship, and at this point they see a skinny dwarf meet them at the stairs, who seems to just be bumbling around. He says worshipping is this way, and points deeper into the room. He's on lunch. He seems to be the janitor. The boys walk into the room and see 5 sarcophagus, or sarcophagi, as they kept saying. I'm pretty sure sarcophagi isn't the right plural, but sure. The sarcophagus are all of different sizes, each of them having a humanoid statue, but it's hard to make out any details of any faces. Chetney asks the janitor who the sarcophagus belongs to. He doesn't know. He's just been cleaning this place for a very long time. That's what he likes doing. Ashton asks the dwarf to sort of correct him if he does anything inappropriate. He says that he'll hit Ashton with a wooden spoon. Ashton then goes over to one of the sarcophagus and then opens it. Chetney asks what he sees inside. Ashton jokingly says, "You." Chetney sees through the joke, however. Ashton says, "How do you meet a death god?" Chetney asks if he's going to crawl into the sarcophagus. Ashton will if he doesn't. Ashton then hops in and the janitor closes it for Ashton behind him. Orm and Chetney ask if people go into the sarcophagus regularly. The janitor says no, but he usually eats inside of them because he's fucking weird. Orm and Chetney then hop into one together as they're both small enough to fit into one. The janitor closes it again. It's dark and quiet. Nothing happens for a while. Orm says in his head to the Matron of Ravens, "I'm sorry for your friend. I hope we can help." And Chetney says, he says, "Take your time." I assumed at first that he meant with his death, because I just feel like that's something Chetney would say. Minutes pass in silence, but it's hard to tell how long they've been in there. It's also hard to tell how long they've been in there with just breathing. Did they stop breathing? They can't hear themselves breathing. They can't hear the other people with them in their breathing. They can't feel their chest rise and fall. They can't tell if their eyes are open or closed. They force their eyes open. They all see darkness, except for a faint white light. Orm says, "Come on." Ashton and Chet. They both hear it, but they don't see Orm. Orm says to take a walk. Ashton asks which way. Orm says towards the light. The others follow. As they walk closer, the light seems to be highlighting a sphere, an orb. As they get closer, it takes more of a shape. It seems like it's miles away, no feet away. It was once colorless, shapeless, until they got closer to it, and it now has a humanoid outline. A cloaked black figure. Chetney says hello. The outline of the figure turns around and faces them. They see beneath black hair is a porcelain mask. A hand reaches up and grabs the mask and pulls it away, and the face is a dark void. It rushes them. They're now in the void. They hear metal chains hitting against other chains. They look up and see a hole, a ring of light, and looking down is the masked figure with chains from their wrist hanging down. Ashton grabs the chains and starts climbing up, and the others follow. They get closer to the exit. They're climbing in an endless expanse. The chains begin to give. They pull again, and the chains break away. They begin to fall. Raven wings emerge from her back, and she flies up and turns into a bunch of birds. They see darkness once again. They're not scared. They're not exploited. They feel noticed and appreciated. They can feel themselves again. They climb out of the sarcophagus. They talk about what they saw. Chetney thinks that the gods will be the death of them. They hear the janitor finish his food. Chetney asks how long they've been out for. It had to have been hours, right? The janitor says 2 minutes. They thank him and they head out fast. As they leave, Ashton drops a copper piece of the Dawnfather's temple and they continue on to the Sun Tree. FCG, however, made their way over to the Horizon Temple. It's open. They see Osley, who sent them on their Changebringer journey to begin with, who's excited to see them back. FCG says that they changed their life. Osley is happy that she's been able to have an impact on them. FCG wants to pray. Osley lets him while he continues to clean. FCG goes to a central statue of the Changebringer and begins to pray to it. They say they're going on an important mission and feel like something bad is going to happen. They think it's right to go on the mission and wants to ask if she can look out for, the bad things, and if something does go wrong, to make it happen to FCG and not their friends. They look at the statue and swear her eyes blink, and the color of the eyes change from the pale stone color to a red crimson, and red crimson begins to trickle down her cheeks. They hear her voice. Dark days are ahead. For all of those who walk the path of bravery can save those who they care about. FCG asks if they walk down the path of bravery. They are, but they aren't alone in doing so. Others do as well. Some will be lost, but that is to be a paragon, a child of change. FCG thanks them and says that they don't want to know anymore. It's nice to know that she's watching and that she'll continue to look out for them. They look back up and they see the red tears and now just regular clear water. The voice says, always. We will be watching always. FCG says, we'll see you tomorrow. FCG also says that they now realize they haven't given them purpose. They make one as you go. The Changebringer says that is true freedom. FCG then asks if she can give Ashton a sign, but then takes it back. She says that they need to guide them down that path. She tells FCG that if the road is too dangerous, they can always find another path. FCG walks away from the statue. Osley hopes FCG found what they were looking for. FCG asks if the followers of the Changebringer have been acting weird lately. He says that people have actually been coming around more often. Osley says that it seems like she has been distracted lately. FCG says that they're just like us. Osley agrees. FCG then heads out. They think back to their conversation and think about if they notice anything weird or different and make an insight check. Natural 20 for 27. They get the sense that the Changebringer is changing the message to see if that'll push them further down the path that they're already on. Sort of reverse psychology sort of thing. Instead of, giving them the open path to something else, they continue to go down the path they're on. There's no distrust, but much like the wind, it can come at you from different directions. The party all meet up at the bakery stall near the Sun Tree. At the stall, they meet a man they think is Whitestone Andy, so they ask him a bunch of questions and try to make him feel bad, and eventually learn that it's not necessarily the same Andy. His name is just Andrew. They all then decide to go back to their chambers in the castle. Ashton looks for a book on the Derolos to understand what happened to them to make them all seem so fucked up. Afterwards, they all find some sleep, but after a bit of time, Laudna looks to Imogen and Fern and says, let's go, and that's where the session ends. And there you have it, episode 76 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. Overall, these are my least favorite types of episodes, where nothing happens. Now, I do like character interactions, but I don't feel like anyone's like stance on anything has changed. I still feel like even though Ashton has just gone through this whole thing with the Raven Queen, that not much is going to change in their necessarily like ideology about the gods or anything like that. And they just got sort of put on a potential path of going to the Malleus Key and going to the moon, which is something that we've known we're going to have to do for a while. So realistically, nothing new happened here. That being said, I still enjoyed the episode. I still had a lot of fun watching and seeing all these characters again, as a collection of characters that you've sort of seen coming together is really cool. It's always really fun to see where they start and where they end up. So overall, it was a good episode. But lately, compared to some of the other episodes that we've had up to this point, it's one of the weaker ones, which is crazy because it was still a lot of fun. So, you know, in a show of good episodes, being a weak one isn't a bad thing. In fact, this was a nice breath, you know, a nice little beat that they can have to relax, which is definitely necessary. Sometimes you don't always want it to be go, 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 go. So when I say that this episode wasn't very exciting or anything like that, it doesn't mean it was bad. It just wasn't as good as other episodes. I still enjoyed it, but it's not like one of the episodes that I'll have to come back to in the future and sort of enjoy while I'm watching it again. It'll be one of those episodes that I can skip, if that makes sense. It's fun to watch on the first time through, but you can skip it afterwards. There's a handful of episodes like that throughout all of Critical Role. So, with that being said, overall, still a great episode, still had fun, and yeah, I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.